morning, everyone. How was your Thanksgiving? Mine was good. I'm happy to report. I made it through, and this full moon is illuminating a lot of the themes I feel like I was experiencing and practicing. So we have a full moon in Sagittarius tomorrow afternoon, or tomorrow morning, I believe. And the Sabian symbol for the moon, which I love, is a radical magazine. We can go beyond the entropy of established limits and collective opinions. And this is being illuminated by the sun in Sagittarius, and the symbol for the sun is an old owl up in a tree, then looking for and seeing the light within the darkness. So, if I'm thinking about Thanksgiving and themes that I experienced personally, it was a lot of practice of managing myself. A lot of practice in forgiveness and compassion, because, a lot of times if you're like on sort of a spiritual path, a path of self-growth, self-awareness, people in your life around you sometimes can't see you or hear you, and it's really frustrating. And those people sometimes we still love a lot, right? So it's a practice to figure out how to navigate that space. And Saturn is squaring the moon, the sun, and Mars. And I forgot to mention, Mars is still pretty much conjunct the sun. And I had to also look at the Sabian symbols for these two planets, Saturn and Mars, because I just knew they were important. So Saturn is moving really slowly through Pisces. And this symbol for the degree he's moving through really slowly is a public market. In order to live in harmony within our community, we need to manage our exchanges of ideas, goods, and services mindfully. So something that this full moon reminds me of, it kind of takes me back to the COVID era, because we had the nodes in Sagittarius and Gemini, and during that time we saw a lot of this, like a lot of like, no, this is the way, like this is my reality, that's not the reality. And after getting through like that whole dark night of the soul, we're coming out on another end where people have had to soften a little more. Maybe you have, maybe you haven't, but I definitely softened. There were people in my life who felt differently about everything, and I had to get over it. If I'm just like being honest, it's like I had to just come to a point where I was like, all right, well, I can still honor what my reality is and what my feelings are, and I can allow other people to have theirs. And I think that was like a huge lesson we were being invited to go through during that time. And now that we're kind of on the other side of that, hopefully we are, we're practicing how do we be in relationship with people who have very different perceptions of reality. And it's a choice. You don't have to be in relationship with those people anymore. But to me, I think there's a fine line. So sometimes there's situations where, yes, you need to like cut people off. You need to get out of that relationship because it is so unhealthy and so not good for you. And sometimes that's even temporary. But then there's other times that you really love people in your life, and they're just not, the same things are not important to them. Like the self-growth, the self-awareness, things like that. And so if you still want to have those people in your life, you have to step into some sort of self-mastery, to be honest. Like, that's what it is. It's a practice. It's a responsibility for ourselves. And this moon, the themes for this moon are hopefulness and freshness. Oh, and this brings me back, when I said self-mastery, this brings me back to Mars. And Mars is conjunct the sun, opposite the moon. squaring Saturn, and he's at 3 degrees. 2 men playing chess, choosing the optimal path with a hopeful expectation. So to me, chess is a game where you're using strategy. So here we come back to, how do I navigate? And it's funny, I'm hearing like checkmate, like how do I get to the checkmate? But it's not necessarily just about that. It's not about like, beating anybody or proving somebody wrong or anything like that. It's more about, how do I honor myself? That's the point of the game. How do I honor myself and still remain kind to others? I feel like that's the challenge. It's challenging. Like, I'm not going to sit here and pretend that I'm some perfect angel. I get triggered. I say nasty things sometimes. And this year, I just forgave myself. Like, if something came out, I was like, you know what? I could have done better, but it's all good. I have feelings, so they're gonna come out sometimes. I'm gonna pull some cards. Ooh, the element of fire, passion, enthusiasm, and creation. How can we allow some of these things? It's funny, Mars has started a new cycle, and he's really reigniting this fire. Sagittarius is a fire sign. The sun is there. Mercury's there. And that's another thing. Mercury is going to be going retrograde in Sagittarius at the end of December. And so he is going, and then he's going to go into Capricorn a little bit. So we have these themes, again, that we're reviewing of what are my beliefs, what are my ideas. And with Gemini, this full moon, it's kind of illuminating, how can we stay curious? How can we not get super fixed in what we believe, in pushing our beliefs on anyone else? And while I'm bringing this up, my 2 radical magazines, as the Sabian symbol says it, have been Jung's Undiscovered Self and Paul Levy's Wetiko. And these are books that essentially point out a collective psychosis or a collective sickness. And so it's really interesting when, right now I'm noticing there's a lot of shows out about cults and things, and I've been watching them and I've been really curious about it. Like, okay, what makes people like believe certain things? How do people allow themselves to get programmed when they don't know themselves? And most of us in this day and age have been so far removed from who we actually are that it's very easy for people for their consciousness to be hijacked, And I think that these shows coming out about cults and things like that, hopefully, like the Sabian symbol says, looking for the light within the darkness, hopefully is shining a little bit of light on how that stuff happens. Sadly, one of the shows I watched was defending some cult-like behavior of the collective. And that's what I was getting around to. Sorry, I'm a little all over the place, kind of Gemini energy. But the mainstream culture is a cult. It is. And there's a lot of different cults out there. There's that show Twin Flames Universe, and it's all about like this twin flame cult. It's really okay. I got interrupted for a second. Wow, that's funny. It's really interesting. It's kind of like I see different sides of it. Like, I'm looking at it from this Gemini perspective where I see the cult dynamics, and I also see an agenda to make mainstream culture look at spiritual people as all being in cults. So it's pretty interesting, all of this energy in the air right now. And I think it's an invitation to stay true to ourselves as much as possible. And I think that if you come back to your core, if you come back to grounding to the earth and emptying out and asking yourself what is real, what really matters, that's how you stay out of a cult. That's how you know yourself, and that's how you stay in touch with reality, So I'm going to pull a tree card. A tree angel. Let's see here. Ooh, Scots pine. I've pulled this one before around this time of year, I feel like. 19, Scots pine. Look at his channel. Look how clear his channel is. It's kind of like what I was just saying, where you're grounded and you have this beautiful divine energy coming through you. That's who we are. It doesn't need to be complicated. I mean, we are complicated, kind of, because of all of our experiences and conditioning. And I'm also hearing, like, if we can let go of our past experiences and come at our lives from a fresh perspective, that's going to help us a lot too. Like, can we let go? Can we empty out? Can we allow ourselves to expect something new? Can we allow ourselves to expect something better, a better future? Because the more we hang on to the past and what happened in the past, what people's patterns were in the past, the more we sort of perpetuate it. Okay, I'm pulling a dragon. Lilac fire dragon transmutes through the power of divine love. Open up to transcendent love and enlightenment. Purity of heart brings peace, hope, and joy. So it kind of comes back to these messages earlier. It's a purification of the heart space. And to purify the heart, we have to feel, you know? That's always my struggle, is to allow myself to feel. But I did this Thanksgiving, and I felt so much better for it. When these dragons pour their lilac fire over and through us, we are bathed in divine feminine light, which has the power to dissolve all lower energies in pure love and brings us peace, hope, and joy. It also bathes us in the higher divine feminine qualities of wisdom, agape, and oneness. Having this energy in our aura may even allow us to experience bliss and ecstasy. When you choose this card, the Lilac Fire Dragon will touch you with incredible ninth dimensional light. So call it in and ask it to touch you. As it approaches you, breathe in divine love and sense the lilac fire enveloping you. This will enable you to let go of the old easily, calmly, and graciously. Notice particularly how you feel when this dragon touches you and sense the purity of the love that it radiates. Ask this dragon to remain with you, to anchor the glorious light of lilac fire and take you into a new and illumined way of being. When you do this, the love radiating from your heart will become purer and more beautiful. People will sense this and respond with trust, respect, and gratitude. Consciously work with this beautiful dragon and notice the difference it makes to your life and the quality of love around you. That's really beautiful. I really feel that. And I want to ask, there was a question I had in mind earlier. I want to ask, what can we do? Okay, let me think of how to word this. It's so funny. I'm not great at asking the cards questions sometimes. What are we being asked to practice? Ooh, that flew right out. Ooh, Stingray, trust where the process leads you. This full moon is all about just trusting. Trusting everything is going to be fine. Trusting our creativity. Following that spark. I'm going to ask what Archangel is here to assist us. I keep looking at this fire card I pulled earlier. Oh, and there's a dragon on it. I didn't really look at it that closely. And the guy has like it looks like a staff, but it also kind of looks like a spear. Like his arrow, and there's a compass. It's like he knows where he's going. Kind of feels like that Radical magazine again. Like, don't worry about what other people think about where you're headed. Keep doing what lights you up and follow that arrow, that fire. And keep love in your heart while you do it. Don't burn anyone, right? So what Archangel wants to assist us? Ooh. this really complements this card. I've pulled her before, Galgaliel. That's hard for me to say. She's like a Viking woman, and there's runes on her chariot. And it's really interesting. I'm going to point this out, even though looks like Asa says it looks like the Magician card in tarot. Totally, it does. Because it's like connected to heaven and earth. Okay, so same thing. Look at this spear again. The staff, the spear. And this is almost like the compass. It's funny how similar these cards are. She knows where she's going. And this brings me to like a whole other rabbit hole I can't go down. But maybe in another video. Woo! Another thing that's been coming to my awareness, maybe I'll just try to cover it quickly, is the races of humanity, and how there's a lot of things we've been taught in school that are not true about our origins, and how it's really divided us more than unified us. So anyway, I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole right now, but this is about power. And the message is, your power comes from God and is the essence of love. Do not be afraid to use your power for good. Claim back your sovereignty and give yourself permission to follow your inner guidance. Take control of the steering wheel of your life. Choose your direction. And the thing I love about this message so much is your power comes from God and is the essence of love. The power flows through us, and then we direct it, right? The power is not us, it flows through us, and we are the channels that are all down here kind of like trying to transmute all this darkness on earth through our healing, through our creativity and our sharing. And it's funny with this being a Gemini full moon, and I feel very scattered in this reading, honestly, which is not necessarily new for me, but it's like extra. It says choose your direction. So it's like, can we take the sun energy from Sagittarius and have it help us choose a path? Because Gemini can get really scattered, and Saturn's like kind of squaring this moon and being like, yeah, man, like choose. So very interesting messages for this full moon. We got Lilac Fire Dragon, the fire again. There's lots of fire energy. And, I want to say I think water is probably really important right now. Drinking lots of water, maybe taking baths to cool off if you're feeling the fire too much. But I'm also hearing channel that. How can you channel that fire into something creative and something new? Hopefulness and freshness. So I think that's all I got. I hope you guys have a beautiful full moon, and sending you lots of love.